Cunk-esque Comprehensive Guide to the Confoundingly Complex Cosmos of Guardianship and Disability, or Who Decides What About Who. Scene fades in with Philomena Cunk sitting in an overly grandiose leather armchair, looking confusedly at a hefty-looking manuscript in her hands, which is titled Guardianship and Disability Laws. Philomena Cunk, oh, hello there. You've caught me just diving into, well, what appears to be the world's least exciting bedtime story. But I've been told it's rather important, and who am I to argue with important things? Plus, they promised me biscuits if I made it through. She glances down at the manuscript, squinting slightly. Cunk, right, before we dive into the deep end of this swimming pool of knowledge, someone rather insistently pointed out that I should read out this, she grimaces, table of contents. You know, just so we all know where we're going. Or at least, so you do. I'm still not quite sure. She chuckles and then leans forward, preparing to delve into the table of contents. Introduction: when is a guardian not a guardian? Also, what is a guardian? Is it like Batman? Understanding your rights, but like, actually for those who think rights are just a kind of turn on the road. Guardianship Law 101, or How Not to Get Confused and Think It's About Guarding Ships. The Disability Law Dive: why can't all laws just be like traffic laws? At least those have cool signs. The Church Conundrum: want to worship. Here's how. Friendly fiascos: deciding who gets to be your bestie. Venturing the vast world: how to go where you want without getting told off. Sacking a guardian: politely how to say thanks, but no thanks to your guardian. The Big 15, a deep dive into 15 hilariously complex scenarios in guardianship and disability law that might just make sense. Conclusion: wrapping up without really understanding anything, but feeling a bit more comfortable. Next, we'll dive into the basics one under guardianship needs to understand in Philomena Cunk's style. Understanding your rights, but like, actually. Cue ambient documentary music. Narrator: Philomena Cunk. Now, I know what you're thinking. Rights are like that thing we all have but don't quite understand, kind of like belly buttons. But it's super important, especially if you've got someone bossing you around called a guardian. Not the newspaper, though. That's a different kind of guardian. Expert: well, everyone has fundamental human rights, irrespective of any guardianship. Cunk, looking puzzled. So, like, the right to eat chocolate. Expert: more like the right to personal freedom, to express oneself, to worship freely. Cunk: so, the right to eat chocolate freely in a church while expressing how much you love it. Expert, trying not to laugh. Sure, let's go with that. Cunk: so if you've got a guardian, and you're not sure if they are doing their job or just being bossy boots, remember you've got rights. And if they try to tell you otherwise, just remember the chocolate. This sets the stage for a humorous, yet informative journey through guardianship and disability law. In the subsequent sessions, we can go deeper into the blend of guardianship law and disability law through our detailed scenes, maintaining the wit and style of Philomena Cunk. Remember, comedy can be a great way to tackle heavy subjects, and I'm here to help you through it all. Here is a possible script for the introduction. Hello and welcome to Cunk on AI, the show where I explore the world of artificial intelligence with the help of some experts and some robots. I'm Philomena Cunk, and today we're going to talk about guardianship law and disability. What is guardianship? Why do some people with disabilities need guardians? And what are their rights and choices when it comes to their personal lives? Let's find out. Guardianship is when someone else makes decisions for you because you can't do it yourself. For example, if you're in a coma, or if you're a baby, or if you're a dog. But sometimes, people who are not in comas, or babies, or dogs, also need guardians. These are people who have disabilities that affect their ability to think or communicate clearly. Like me, when I've had too many bags of crisps. But how do you know if someone needs a guardian or not? And who gets to decide that? And what if they don't like their guardian or their decisions? And what if they want to make their own decisions or get rid of their guardian? These are some of the questions that we will try to answer in this episode, by talking to some experts and some people with disabilities who have experienced guardianship. But first, let's find out what artificial intelligence has to do with all this. Artificial intelligence, or AI for short, is when machines can do things that humans can do, like playing chess, driving cars, or writing books. But can AI also help people with disabilities who need guardians? Or can AI become guardians themselves? Or can AI even replace humans altogether? To find out more, I spoke to Professor X, an expert in AI and ethics at the University of Y. Cut to interview scene. Cunk, hello Professor X. Thank you for talking to me. Professor X, my pleasure. Cunk, so, what is AI and why is it important? Professor X, well, AI is the science and engineering of creating intelligent machines that can perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as reasoning, learning, planning, problem solving, etc. Cunk, and why is that important? Professor X, well, AI has many potential benefits for society and humanity. It can improve productivity, efficiency, innovation, safety, health, education, entertainment, and so on. It can also help people with disabilities by providing them with tools and services that can enhance their capabilities and independence. Cunk, like what? Professor X, for Cut back to studio. Cunk, that was Professor X, an expert in AI and ethics. He told me that AI can help people with disabilities by providing them with information, advice, support, and assistance. But he also said that AI can be complicated and that it may not be a good idea to let AI be guardians for people with disabilities. That was Dr. Gus, a lawyer and an advocate for people with disabilities. He told me that guardianship can have many negative consequences for people with disabilities and their families. But what if you are a person with a disability who already has a guardian and you don't like them or their decisions? What can you do about it? Well, don't worry, because I have some practical advice for you. Here are some things you can do if you are unhappy with your guardian or your guardianship. Document your grievances. If your guardian is doing something that you don't like or that is harming you, you should write it down or record it somehow. You should include the date, time, place, and details of what happened and how it made you feel. You should also keep any evidence that supports your claim, such as photos, videos, emails, letters, receipts, etc. You should keep these documents in a safe place where your guardian can't find them or destroy them. Report your grievances. If your guardian is doing something that is illegal, abusive, neglectful, or exploitative, you should report it to the authorities as soon as possible. You can contact the Department of Social and Health Services, DSHS, or Adult Protective Services, APS, in your state and tell them what is going on. They will investigate your case and take action if necessary. You can also contact a lawyer or an advocate who can help you with your legal rights and options. Request a review or a change of your guardianship. If your guardian is doing something that is not in your best interest or that goes against your wishes or preferences, you can ask the court to review or change your guardianship. You can file a petition with the court that explains why you are unhappy with your guardian or your guardianship and what you want to happen instead. You can ask the court to limit the scope or duration of your guardianship, to appoint a different guardian, or to end your guardianship altogether. You can also ask the court to appoint a lawyer or a guardian ad litem who can represent you and your interests in the process. These are some of the things you can do if you are unhappy with your guardian or your guardianship. But remember, these things may not be easy or quick to do. You may face resistance or opposition from your guardian or others who may not agree with you or support you. You may also face legal or financial challenges or risks that may affect your situation. That's why it's important to seek help and advice from people you trust and who can help you with your rights and choices. But enough about that. Let's get back to Dr. Gus and find out more about guardianship and disability. Cut back to interview scene. Okay, I can change the topic to that. Here is a possible script. Cut back to studio. Cunk, that was Dr. Gus, a lawyer and an advocate for people with disabilities. He told me more about guardianship and disability and how it can affect the rights and choices of people with disabilities. He also told me some of the things that people with disabilities can do if they are unhappy with their guardian or their guardianship. But what if you are a person with a disability who has a guardian but you don't like some of the decisions they make for you? For example, what if you want to date or marry someone but your guardian doesn't approve? Or what if you want to go to a different church or follow a different religion but your guardian doesn't let you? Or what if you want to do anything else that makes you happy but your guardian says no? Well, don't worry, because I have some more practical advice for you. Here are some things you can do before changing your guardian to secure your rights and choices in your personal life. Communicate your preferences. You should tell your guardian and others what you want and why you want it in relation to your personal life. You should explain how your choices make you happy and fulfilled and how they don't harm you or anyone else. You should also listen to what your guardian and others have to say and try to understand their concerns and reasons. Negotiate your options. You should try to find a compromise or a solution that works for both you and your guardian in relation to your personal life. You should be flexible and open-minded and consider different possibilities and alternatives. You should also respect the boundaries and limits that your guardian and others may have and not force them to do something they don't want to do. Seek support and guidance. You should seek help and advice from people who can support you and guide you in relation to your personal life. These may include friends, family members, counselors, mentors, advocates, or others who share your values and interests. They can provide you with emotional, social, spiritual, or practical support and guidance. They can also help you communicate with your guardian and others and mediate any conflicts or disagreements. Document your evidence. You should keep records and evidence of your choices and actions in relation to your personal life. These may include photos, videos, emails, letters, receipts, certificates, etc. These can show that your choices are safe, reasonable, and beneficial for you and that you are capable of making them. They can also show that your guardian is unreasonable, unfair, or harmful for you and that they are not acting in your best interest. These are some of the things you can do before changing your guardian to secure your rights and choices in your personal life. But remember, these things may not be enough or effective in some cases. You may still face resistance or opposition from your guardian or others who may not agree with you or support you. You may also face legal or financial challenges or risks that may affect your situation. That's why it's important to seek help and advice from a lawyer or an advocate who can help you with your legal rights and options. But enough about that. Let's get back to Dr. Gus and find out more about guardianship and disability. Cut back to interview scene. I see. You want me to write a script for a mockumentary about guardianship law and disability rights, featuring Philomena Cunk as the host. I'll try to do that, but please note that I'm not a professional writer or comedian, and I may not be able to capture the exact tone or style of the original Cunk series. Here's a possible script for the first scene. Int. Law Office, Day. Philomena Cunk, VO hello, I'm Philomena Cunk, and this is Cunk on Guardianship. In this series, I'll be exploring the fascinating world of legal guardianship, where one person gets to make all the decisions for another person who can't do it themselves. It's like being a parent, but without the hassle of giving birth or changing nappies. But how does it work? Who gets to be a guardian? And what are the rights of the people under guardianship? To find out, I'll be talking to some of the top experts in the field, and visiting some of the places where guardianship happens. Cut to Philomena Cunk sitting in a law office, across from a lawyer. Philomena Cunk, I'm here with John Smith, a lawyer who specializes in guardianship law. John, thank you for talking to me. John Smith, you're welcome. Philomena Cunk, so, what is guardianship? John Smith, well, guardianship is a legal arrangement where one person, called the guardian, is appointed by a court to make decisions for another person, called the ward, who is unable to make decisions for themselves due to some incapacity. Philomena Cunk, and what kind of incapacity are we talking about? John Smith, it could be anything that affects the person's ability to understand and communicate their wishes, such as mental illness, dementia, brain injury, developmental disability, or even being a minor. Philomena Cunk, so, if I had a brain injury and couldn't speak or think properly, someone else could become my guardian and decide everything for me. John Smith: Well, not exactly. The court would have to determine that you are indeed incapacitated and that you need a guardian. And the guardian would have to act in your best interests and respect your rights and preferences as much as possible. Philomena Cunk: But how would they know what my best interests are? Or what my rights and preferences are? They're not me. John Smith: That's true. That's why guardianship is a serious and complex matter that requires careful consideration and oversight. The guardian has to follow certain rules and guidelines, and report to the court regularly on how they are managing your affairs. Philomena Cunk: What kind of rules and guidelines? John Smith: Well, for example, the guardian has to provide you with adequate care and protection, ensure your health and safety, manage your finances and property responsibly, and avoid any conflicts of interest or abuse of power. Philomena Cunk: That sounds like a lot of work. Why would anyone want to be a guardian? John Smith: Usually, people become guardians because they care about the person under guardianship and want to help them. They could be family members, friends, or professionals who have a relationship with the person. Philomena Cunk: So it's like being a friend with benefits. John Smith: No, not at all. Being a guardian is not a benefit. It's a duty and a responsibility. Philomena Cunk: Oh. Well then why don't they just let the person under guardianship do what they want? Wouldn't that be easier? John Smith: Not necessarily. Sometimes the person under guardianship may not know what they want or what's good for them. They may make bad choices or harm themselves or others. They may need guidance and support from someone who knows them well and has their best interests at heart. Philomena Cunk: But how do you know if someone needs guidance or support? Or if they are making bad choices or harming themselves or others? Isn't that subjective? John Smith: Well, yes, it can be subjective. That's why there are different types and levels of guardianship depending on the person's needs and abilities. Some people may need full guardianship where the guardian makes all the decisions for them. Others may need limited guardianship where the guardian makes only some decisions for them. And others may need no guardianship at all where they make their own decisions with some assistance from others. Philomena Cunk: So there's no one-size-fits-all solution. John Smith: No, there isn't. Guardianship is a flexible and individualized process that aims to balance the person's autonomy and dignity with their protection and welfare. Philomena Cunk: I see. And who decides what type and level of guardianship a person needs? John Smith: The court does, based on the evidence and recommendations of various professionals and parties involved in the case. Philomena Cunk: And who are these professionals and parties? John Smith: They could include doctors, social workers, psychologists, lawyers, guardians ad litem, family members, friends, or anyone who has an interest in the person's well-being. Philomena Cunk: And what is a guardian ad litem? John Smith: A guardian ad litem is a person appointed by the court to represent the person's best interests during the guardianship proceedings. They are not the same as the guardian. Philomena Cunk: So they're like a guardian for the guardian. John Smith: No, they're not a guardian for the guardian. They're a guardian for the person under guardianship. Philomena Cunk: But then who's the guardian for the guardian ad litem? John Smith: There is no guardian for the guardian ad litem. The guardian ad litem is an independent and impartial party who reports to the court. Philomena Cunk: This is very confusing. John Smith: I can understand that. Guardianship can be confusing and complicated. That's why it's important to have good information and advice before getting involved in it. Philomena Cunk: Well, thank you for giving me some good information and advice, John. You've been very helpful. John Smith: You're welcome, Philomena. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Philomena Cunk: VO That was John Smith, a lawyer who knows a lot about guardianship. He told me that guardianship is when one person makes decisions for another person who can't make them themselves. He also told me that there are different types and levels of guardianship depending on the person's needs and abilities. And he told me that guardianship is a flexible and individualized process that aims to balance the person's autonomy and dignity with their protection and welfare. But he didn't tell me why anyone would want to be a guardian in the first place. To find out, I decided to meet some real-life guardians and see what they do. Join me next time on Cunk on Guardianship, when I'll be visiting a group home for people with disabilities, a nursing home for people with dementia, and a foster home for children in need of care. Until then, goodbye. Chapter 3, Guardianship Law 101. Or, How Not to Get Confused and Think It's About Guarding Ships. Cue whimsical background music. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. So, we've learned that rights are like the instructions on a chocolate wrapper, vital to understanding what's inside, but often overlooked because the shiny bit is more fun. Now, let's tackle this guardian thing. Expert, guardianship is a legal relationship where one person, the guardian, has the authority and duty to care for another and their property. Cunk, confused, but why would someone guard a ship? And how do you fit a ship in your property? Expert, smiling. It's not about ships, Philomena. A guardian is someone appointed to look after another person, especially if that person can't make certain decisions for themselves. Cunk, nodding. Oh, like how I can't decide between milk chocolate and dark chocolate. Expert, sort of. But guardianship often involves more serious decisions. Like medical ones, financial ones. Cunk, looking deep in thought. So, if I ate too much chocolate and couldn't decide whether to see a doctor or a dentist, a guardian would decide for me. Expert, chuckling in a very simplified way, yes. But guardianship is usually applied when someone has a disability or can't make decisions due to illness or age. Cunk, got it. So, if you have a guardian, it's like having a personal decision-making assistant. Except, sometimes you might not agree with their choices, like if they prefer white chocolate. Who even likes white chocolate? Expert, trying to redirect. It's essential that guardians always act in the best interest of the person they are looking after. Cunk, with enthusiasm. Right. So, if you have a guardian, make sure they know your favorite type of chocolate. Vital information, that. Expert, sighing. Let's just say, it's essential to have good communication with your guardian. Chapter 4, the Disability Law Dive. Why can't all laws just be like traffic laws? At least those have cool signs. Cue dreamy background music as we transition to a new scene. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. Now that we've sort of wrapped our heads around this guardianship thing, which isn't about ships, let's swim, or maybe wade, into the ocean of disability law. Scene opens with Philomena at a beach, looking hesitant to dip her toe into the water. Cunk, the thing with oceans is, you never really know what's lurking beneath the surface. Same with laws, I guess. One moment you're floating, the next you're sinking because you didn't know you needed a life jacket. Expert, dressed in a lifeguard uniform. Well, Philomena, disability law is designed to protect the rights and dignity of individuals with disabilities. It ensures they are treated fairly and equally. Cunk, looking perplexed. So, it's like a big floaty for the law. Expert, chuckling. If that helps you understand, sure. Disability law focuses on ensuring that everyone has equal opportunities, especially in areas like employment, housing, and education. Cunk, pointing at a floating beach ball. Like how everyone should have the opportunity to play with that beach ball, even if they can't run as fast or throw as far. Expert, precisely. For women, especially, it's important to remember that having a disability doesn't mean giving up one's rights to make personal choices, whether it's about where to worship, who to be friends with, or where to go. Cunk, nodding. Right, like if I wanted to worship the great chocolate god or be friends with someone who doesn't like chocolate at all. Weird, I know I should be able to. Expert, exactly. If someone feels their freedoms are being restricted, they should seek advice and support. Knowledge is power. Cunk, looking serious for once, and chocolate gives you energy, which is almost like power. So, ladies, if you feel deprived of your freedoms, gobble some chocolate, gather some knowledge, and stand up for your rights. Expert, smiling. While I'd caution against relying solely on chocolate, it's essential to speak out, seek legal advice, and remember that disability law is there to uphold your rights, not curtail them. Cunk, enthusiastically. So, dive into the waters of disability law with your floaty of knowledge, and if anyone tries to pop it, throw them some chocolate. It might distract them long enough for you to swim away. This scene blends Cunk's iconic humor with practical advice for women who feel their freedoms are restricted due to disability laws or guardianship conditions. With each segment, we aim to provide insight in an engaging and light-hearted manner, making the information more digestible. Chapter 4, the Disability Law Dive. Why can't all laws just be like traffic laws? At least those have cool signs. Cue dreamy background music as we transition to a new scene. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. Now that we've sort of wrapped our heads around this guardianship thing, which isn't about ships, let's swim, or maybe wade, into the ocean of disability law. Scene opens with Philomena at a beach, looking hesitant to dip her toe into the water. Cunk, the thing with oceans is, you never really know what's lurking beneath the surface. Same with laws, I guess. One moment you're floating, the next you're sinking because you didn't know you needed a life jacket. Expert, dressed in a lifeguard uniform. Well, Philomena, disability law is designed to protect the rights and dignity of individuals with disabilities. It ensures they are treated fairly and equally. Cunk, looking perplexed. So, it's like a big floaty for the law. Expert, chuckling. If that helps you understand, sure. Disability law focuses on ensuring that everyone has equal opportunities, especially in areas like employment, housing, and education. Cunk, pointing at a floating beach ball. Like how everyone should have the opportunity to play with that beach ball, even if they can't run as fast or throw as far. Expert, precisely. For women, especially, it's important to remember that having a disability doesn't mean giving up one's rights to make personal choices, whether it's about where to worship, who to be friends with, or where to go. Cunk, nodding. Right, like if I wanted to worship the great chocolate god or be friends with someone who doesn't like chocolate at all. Weird, I know I should be able to. Expert, exactly. If someone feels their freedoms are being restricted, they should seek advice and support. Knowledge is power. Cunk, looking serious for once. And chocolate gives you energy, which is almost like power. So, ladies, if you feel deprived of your freedoms, gobble some chocolate, gather some knowledge, and stand up for your rights. Expert, smiling. While I'd caution against relying solely on chocolate, it's essential to speak out, seek legal advice, and remember that disability law is there to uphold your rights, not curtail them. Cunk, enthusiastically. So, dive into the waters of disability law with your floaty of knowledge, and if anyone tries to pop it, throw them some chocolate. It might distract them long enough for you to swim away. This scene blends Cunk's iconic humor with practical advice for women who feel their freedoms are restricted due to disability laws or guardianship conditions. With each segment, we aim to provide insight in an engaging and light-hearted manner, making the information more digestible. Chapter 6, The Guardian Gobbledygook. Or why being a guardian isn't like watching over a golden goose. Scene opens with Philomena in a medieval setting, wearing a knight's armor, standing beside a large golden egg. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. Right, last time I thought guardianship was about guarding ships, but apparently, it's not about guarding golden eggs either. It's all a bit much, really. But let's crack this egg. Or not, because it's golden, and that would hurt. Expert, dressed like a medieval scholar. Philomena, guardianship law, especially for those who feel they are in an undesirable situation, is vital. It's not about eggs or ships. Cunk, looking at the golden egg. But this is a nice egg. Expert, sighing. Let's focus. If someone feels they are under restrictive guardianship, they should know that they have the right to request a change or modification of that guardianship. Cunk, so, like asking to swap a milk chocolate for a dark one. Expert, kind of. They can petition the court. With the right evidence and arguments, guardianships can be modified or even terminated. Cunk, so, if you've got a guardian who's acting more like an evil dragon hoarding your chocolates, you can ask the court knights to come to the rescue. Expert, nodding. Precisely. It's also essential to regularly review the terms of the guardianship. Sometimes situations change. What might have been appropriate at one time may not be suitable now. Cunk, looking intrigued. Like when I decided I preferred caramel-filled chocolates over plain ones. Tastes change. Expert, yes, in a way. Sunset. If someone is in a bad guardianship situation, they should also consider legal representation. There are lawyers who specialize in guardianship law and can provide invaluable assistance.
It's funny you should say that.
Cunk,
Did you notice anything new about
a lawyer is like a chocolate connoisseur but for guardianship issues. Expert, exactly. And for women, especially, it's crucial to remain informed.
No, it's not that.
Join support groups, stay connected, and always remember you have rights.
Oh, I want that.
Cunk,
No,
got
it's
it.
something totally new.
So,
You're gonna
don your
love it.
armor, wield your knowledge sword,
So,
and don't let
I
anyone
don't
tell
like
you how to eat your
surprises.
chocolates, or live your life. This scene again couples specific steps for women in unsatisfactory guardianship situations with Philomena Cunk's offbeat and humorous lens on understanding the gravity of the subject.
What year
Chapter
is it?
7,
Do we
The
have
Pub and
flying
Crisp's
cars
Guide
yet?
to Guardianship.
No, but we have
Or how
folding
Terry's
phones.
wise words over a
Wanna
pint
play a
can be
game?
more helpful than you'd think.
Oh heck yeah.
Scene opens
Oh,
with
wow.
Philomena
We're
Cunk
in the
sitting
thick
at a
of it.
classic
Oh, yeah.
British
Give
pub,
that
a
big
pint
guy
in
a
one
bit.
hand and a
Business
packet
being
of crisps in the
given.
other.
Let's go.
A fellow, Terry, in a tweed jacket sits next to her, holding forth with all the authority one assumes after 2 pints. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. If there's one place you can get good advice, it's from a bloke named Terry at the pub. Between sips of ale and handfuls of salt and vinegar crisps, life's mysteries unravel. Like, why do crisps go in packets and not boxes? And how can a woman outwit a naughty guardian? Terry, wiping ale foam from his lip. You know, Philomena, guardianship isn't like deciding between cheese and onion or salt and vinegar. It's serious stuff. Cunk, so, what should a lady do if her guardian's acting less like a doting grandpa and more like a squirrel that's nicked her last nut? Terry, first off, she should document everything. Like, I keep receipts for all the pints I buy. Helps me make a case to the missus that I've not overspent. Cunk, nodding, got it. Keep track of the mischief. Next. Terry, she should get a solicitor. They're like referees, but for life's big matches. They'll help her present her case in court, asking for a review or termination of the guardianship. Cunk, right. Like calling foul in a football match, but the stakes are your life choices and not just a trophy. Terry, spot on. She can also reach out to advocacy groups. They like the mates who cheer you on from the sidelines, making sure you're not playing the game solo. Cunk, with a twinkle in her eye, always good to have a cheer squad. Especially if they bring crisps. Terry, lastly, she shouldn't be scared to speak up. If things don't feel right, they probably aren't. The law's there to protect, not to trap. Cunk, raising her pint to freedom, rights, and a packet of crisps at the pub. Cheers, Terry. This scene takes a light-hearted approach to reiterate essential steps women should consider when feeling trapped in an unsatisfactory guardianship, all with the charm and wit Philomena Cunk brings to complex topics. Chapter 8, The Guardianship Grab Bag. Or how I discovered there's more to guardianship than keeping an eye on your little brother's candy. Scene opens with Philomena Cunk holding a literal grab bag. Each item she pulls out represents a concept in guardianship lore. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. So, guardianship isn't about ships, and it's not just about guarding stuff, but apparently, there's a whole bag of tricks to it. Or topics. Let's dive into this metaphorical goodie bag, shall we? She pulls out a toy ship from the bag. Cunk, no, not this again. Let's toss that overboard. Expert, that's probably a wise choice, Philomena. She pulls out a miniature scale of justice. Cunk, right. So, this little balancing thingy here, that's about the least restrictive alternative, isn't it? Expert, exactly. The principle here is that when appointing a guardian, the court should opt for the alternative that restricts the person's civil rights and personal freedoms the least. For instance, if there's a choice between a full-blown guardianship or a more limited one, the latter is preferred. Cunk, nodding. So, it's like choosing between buying a whole chocolate factory or just a bar. If the bar satisfies your craving, why buy the factory? Next, she pulls out a whistle. Cunk, what's this noisy thing about? Expert, that represents the duty to report. If someone is aware of a guardian abusing their powers or neglecting their duties, it's essential to blow the whistle. Or, in other words, report it. Cunk, like telling the teacher when Timmy tries to pinch my sweets. She pulls out a small clock. Cunk, time, for a tea break. Expert, chuckling. No, it's about the duration of guardianship. It's not always forever. Sometimes, a guardianship is only for a set period, and once that time is up, it must be reviewed or it expires. Cunk, like the expiry date on my yogurt. Ignore it, and things get a bit smelly. Lastly, she pulls out a tiny mirror. Cunk, and this. Do I need a quick makeup touch-up? Expert, that's about self-determination. Even under guardianship, an individual retains certain rights, like deciding personal aspects of their lives, and they must be allowed to make decisions reflecting their desires, values, and choices. Cunk, peering into the mirror, so it's about seeing oneself and making choices, even if it's just choosing between red lippy and pink. Expert, in a way, yes. These elements together ensure that guardianship law is balanced, protective, and respectful of individual rights. Cunk, brilliant. Guardianship, it turns out, isn't just about guarding stuff but understanding and navigating a vast sea of rights, choices, and whistles. Always with the whistles. This chapter introduces the audience to the broad and diverse topics within guardianship law using Philomena Cunk's humorous and unconventional style. Chapter 9, Dabbling in Disability Decrees. Or why disability law isn't about biscuits, but maybe it should be. Scene opens with Philomena Cunk at a cookie, biscuit, stand, each cookie symbolizing a concept in disability law. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. Now, moving on from guardians and their ships, we're dipping our toes into the waters of disability law. And by waters, I mean biscuits. Because, well, who needs a reason for biscuits? She picks up a cookie with a wheelchair symbol on it. Cunk, so, this isn't about speedy chairs, right? Expert, no, Philomena. That cookie represents accessibility rights. Everyone, regardless of their disability, has a right to access public places, transportation, and information. It ensures that barriers, physical or otherwise, are minimized or removed. Cunk, so, like making sure everyone can reach the top shelf biscuits, even if they are on a lower shelf. Expert, nodding precisely. She selects a cookie with an equal sign. Cunk, now, this looks like my math homework, but I've been told it's more important. Expert, that's about equality and non-discrimination. People with disabilities have the same rights as everyone else and shouldn't be treated differently or unfairly because of their disability. Cunk, so, whether you like chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin, all cookies, people, deserve the same respect. Next, she picks up a cookie with a handshake symbol. Cunk, two people agreeing they both like biscuits. Expert, chuckles, that's about reasonable accommodations. It means adjustments or modifications made to ensure people with disabilities can enjoy their rights on an equal basis with others. Cunk, like ensuring everyone has milk with their cookies. Got it. She then takes a cookie with a star on it. Cunk, the star cookie. This has to be special. Expert, it is. It symbolizes the right to participation. People with disabilities have a right to take part in all aspects of society, be it in cultural events, decision-making processes, or any other public affair. Cunk, so, everyone gets to vote on the best biscuit. Democracy in action. Lastly, she picks up a cookie with a heart. Cunk, let me guess. The love for cookies. Expert, while we all love cookies, that stands for health and well-being. It ensures people with disabilities have the right to the highest attainable standard of health without discrimination. Cunk, seriously, because everyone deserves to be healthy and happy. And maybe have a biscuit or two. Expert, absolutely. Cunk, so, disability law isn't about what we can't do, but ensuring everyone can do what they want, need, and deserve to do. And maybe ensuring equal biscuit distribution. Using Philomena Cunk's style, this chapter humorously yet informatively touches upon the essential tenets of disability law, all while connecting them to the universal love for biscuits. Chapter 10, The Great Guardian Unmasking. Or how to spot when your guardian's acting less guardian, more goblin. Scene opens with Philomena Cunk in a detective's office, magnifying glass in hand, attempting to use it backwards to read a document. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. Now, let's enter the secretive world of guardianship mischief. How can one tell if their guardian is genuinely looking out for them or just using protection as an excuse to crash the party? Let's investigate. She spots a guardian lurking behind a potted plant, watching someone through binoculars. Cunk, step 1. If your guardian is lurking behind furniture, especially with such terribly unsubtle binoculars, that might be your first clue. Expert, more seriously, Philomena, if a guardian is continuously stopping someone from seeing their friends or engaging in social activities, that's a sign of overreach. The first thing one should do is to document such instances. Cunk, right. Keep a diary. Not the teen angsty, dear diary, nobody understands me. Kind. More like, "Dear diary, my guardian won't let me go to bingo again." Philomena tries to sneak past the guardian behind the potted plant and is promptly caught. Cunk, Step 2. Find an advocate. Someone who knows the ropes and can help untangle them. Expert, absolutely. It could be a lawyer or a community advocate who understands both disability and guardianship laws. They can guide you on the next steps and represent your interests. Cunk, whispering Step 3. Talk to others. They might also have goblin-like guardians and could offer tips, tricks, or just a good ranting session. Expert, connecting with support groups or organizations dealing with guardianship rights can be very empowering. They offer advice, resources, and sometimes even legal assistance. Cunk, holding a toy phone. Step 4. Call for a guardianship review. Like ordering a pizza but less cheesy and more, Justice Why. Expert, spot on. Request a review of the guardianship arrangement in court. If there's evidence of abuse or neglect, the court can modify or terminate the guardianship. Cunk, trying on various disguises from her detective kit. And Step 5. While it might be tempting to go undercover to escape, it's more effective to communicate. Let the guardian know how you feel, if you feel safe doing so. Sometimes, just discussing concerns can lead to a resolution. Expert, yes, it's essential always to prioritize safety. If communication doesn't work or leads to more restrictions, that's when the documented evidence and external help come in. Cunk, and there you have it, a 5-step dance to break free from an overzealous guardian. Remember, protection should feel like a warm blanket, not a straitjacket. And if it feels like the latter, it might be time to trade it in for a snuggie. This chapter, using Philomena Cunk's distinctive style, provides practical advice to individuals who may feel stifled by their guardians. Chapter 11, The Guardian Gala of Gaffs. Or when protection feels like getting stuck in a very sticky spider web, and not the fun kind you see at Halloween. Scene opens with Philomena Cunk sitting in a massive faux spider web, looking somewhat distressed but with a comedic expression. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. Picture this, you're minding your own business, and suddenly you're stuck in a gigantic, tacky spider web. You're not quite a butterfly, but you feel a tad trapped. And no, this isn't a strange dream after too much cheese, it's what it might feel like with an overbearing guardian. She attempts to extract herself from the web and gets more tangled. Cunk, struggling. You see, having a guardian is supposed to be a bit like having a personal GPS, guiding you around life's potholes. But sometimes, it feels more like a sat-nav that's lost its signal. Or worse, keeps rerouting you to a place called none of your business. Expert, helping Cunk out of the web. Misuse of guardianship powers isn't just about limiting personal freedoms. It can leave emotional and psychological scars. Being constantly told you can't do things or make your own decisions can lead to feelings of powerlessness, isolation, or even depression. Cunk, free at last. It's like being told you can't have any more chocolate because it's for your own good. I mean, I get it. But also, let me have my chocolate. Expert, nodding. When control goes too far, it undermines self-worth and chips away at one's identity. Everyone needs autonomy, a sense of purpose, and the freedom to make choices, even if some of those choices involve late-night karaoke or pineapple on pizza. Cunk, which, for the record, is a choice I support. Pineapple haters, don't at me. Scene shifts to Cunk holding a heart-shaped balloon. Cunk, we all have a heart, not just this wobbly balloon here, but a real emotional one. And that heart thrives on connection, choice, and the occasional binge watch of trashy TV shows. Expert, indeed. And guardians should be enablers, helping to navigate challenges, not adding to them. The key is balance. Safety doesn't mean stifling. Support doesn't equate to suppression. Cunk, letting the balloon float away because every heart, like this easily distracted balloon, needs space to float, to dream, and to occasionally get stuck in a tree. But that's another story. Chapter 12, Wrapping Up and Rolling Out. Or tying up the loose ends, hopefully not in a confusing knot like my shoelaces. Scene opens with Philomena Cunk standing amidst a chaotic set filled with props from the previous chapters: a toy ship, cookies, the magnifying glass, the spider web, and more. Narrator, Philomena Cunk. Well, here we are, at the end of our wacky, winding journey through guardianships, disability law, and biscuits. I've learned so much that my brain feels a bit like it's been in a washing machine. On the intense knowledge cycle. Expert, looking amused. It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Cunk, nodding yes, from understanding that guardianship isn't about guarding ships to realizing disability law isn't a biscuit ranking system. And most importantly, that life, like a good pudding, is best when we have a say in its ingredients. Expert, exactly. Guardianship and disability laws exist to empower, protect, and support. But as with anything, they need to be exercised with care, respect, and the person's best interest at heart. Cunk, thoughtfully, it's like being given a new jumper. It might be for your protection from the cold, but if it's too tight, scratchy, or a horrid color, it's not doing its job. And maybe, just maybe, it's time for a new jumper. Or at least a chat with the person who gifted it. Expert, smiling. Well put. Everyone deserves autonomy, respect, and the right to live their lives as they see fit. And if there are barriers or spider webs along the way, they deserve the support and tools to navigate through them. Cunk, right you are. So, if you're out there feeling like your life's GPS is broken, remember, it's your journey. You deserve a say in the route, the stops, and definitely the snack choices. And always remember, no matter the guardian goblins or legal labyrinths, you're not alone. Expert, reach out, speak up, and remember your rights. Cunk, saluting with a biscuit, and with that, I bid you farewell. Take care, fight for your rights, and always, always have a biscuit handy. You never know when you'll need it.
In a world where chaos reigns, and connections seem fleeting, one visionary endeavor seeks to bring us all together. Zen Theatre Live After Dark. Harnessing the transformative power of artificial intelligence, the timeless charm of radio theater. The wisdom of books, and the excitement of video games. Zen Theatre Live After Dark illuminates the path to enlightenment and fosters a sense of unity among its audience. Through this unique fusion of storytelling and interactive experiences, we aim to nurture personal growth, improve learning, and inspire a peaceful existence. Guided by your obedient servant, Sebastian St. Serapian Smalls, we embark on a journey of self-discovery. But where do we begin? Begin by simply listening, slow down, see just how peaceful today can be. Together, we shall create a harmonious community, bound by shared passions and a desire to elevate the human experience. Sebastian St. Serapian Smalls will be there, to the end of the line, my Valentine, guiding you on this journey towards a more serene and enlightened tomorrow. Catch you guys on the flip side.
If it wasn't for Grammarly Go, putting our website together would have taken so much longer. You'll truly be amazed at what you can do with Grammarly Go. I was working on our website for pretty much the whole day. When I didn't know where to get started, I input a prompt into Grammarly Go, and it offered me several ideas to get started, and it really got my creative juices flowing. It was also really helpful to be able to personalize my voice by clicking set voice and matching the